Have you ever met him? The man whose body aged, but whose soul seemed suspended, caught somewhere between the dreams of boyhood and the demands of manhood. You've seen him, I'm sure. Maybe he was in a cafe, lost in a notebook filled with brilliant ideas that will never see the light of day. Or perhaps he was the lover who burned with an intoxicating, bright flame, only to vanish the moment reality asked for something more than passionate asked for consistency. He isn't lazy, he's not foolish, he is simply trapped in a story he's been repeating his entire life without even realizing he's the main character. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung gave this figure a name, the puer aeternus, or in plain terms, the eternal boy. This is the man who cannot let go of infinite possibility long enough to embrace a single reality. He chases the ghost of meaning, but flees from the solid ground of structure. He worships freedom, but he is terrified of what he must sacrifice for it, the death of his own fantasies. And so he drifts. He lives his entire life in draft mode, never fully committing, never making a definitive choice. Why? Because to choose one path means to kill 1,000 other potential lives, 1,000 other dreams he could have lived. And that feels like a death he's not ready to face. But how does a person become this way? To truly understand the eternal boy, we have to journey back to his beginning, to his childhood. The pattern usually starts in one of two ways. He was either overprotected or he was emotionally abandoned. First, let's look at the overprotected child. He was loved deeply, but he was never trusted with struggle. His parents became his saviors, wrapping him in a cocoon of comfort, solving every problem before he even had a chance to feel its weight. They cleared the path for him, removing every obstacle. As a result, he never developed the emotional muscles of resilience. He never learned to stand on his own 2 feet after a fall. To him, the adult world feels overwhelming and terrifying not because it's inherently cruel, but because it's an unknown territory he was never taught how to navigate. Then there's the other side of the coin, the neglected child. This is the boy who was left unseen, unheard, or simply forgotten. Maybe his parents were too distracted by their own lives, emotionally cold, or broken themselves. He was a ghost in his own home. So, what did he do? He retreated inward. He escaped into the boundless world of his imagination, building a fortress of dreams where the pain of neglect couldn't reach him. This inner world became his only safe harbor. Both of these paths, though seemingly opposite, lead to the exact same wound. The boy never completes his initiation into manhood. He never learns how to root his spirit in the soil of responsibility. Adulthood doesn't feel like a promise of freedom. It feels like a threat, a loss of love, a loss of safety, a loss of the very self he constructed to survive. And so he keeps moving. He chases new thrills, new people, new places, avoiding anything that might anchor him, that might tie him down. He's not running out of rebellion. He's running out of pure, unadulterated fear. And yet, he is magnetic. The eternal boy radiates a kind of raw, untamed aliveness that is incredibly difficult to resist. He's passionate, expressive, almost intoxicating to be around. People are drawn to his light. They fall for his potential and then they find themselves lost in the confusing aftermath. One day, he is completely, overwhelmingly present, all in. The next, he's a ghost. 1 week, he's sketching out plans to build an empire. The next, he's lost in a sea of distractions, his grand plans forgotten. You might think he just needs a little more time to figure things out, but time is not the cure. Time cannot heal a wound that he has never had the courage to face. As Jung himself wrote, the puer aeternus is the boy who cannot age not because he's young, but because he refuses the weight of life. He isn't intentionally cruel. He is simply unfinished. His entire existence is a carefully constructed defense mechanism, built to protect the fragile, scared child still living inside him, the one who never, ever felt truly safe. He escapes into fantasies, into intense but fleeting relationships, into art, into philosophy, into addictions. Anything at all that keeps him moving, that keeps him from being still long enough to feel the deep, foundational pain that lies beneath it all. If he ever stops running, if the noise of his life ever quiets down, he might finally hear the questions that have been haunting him for decades, whispering just below the surface. Where were they when I needed them? Why does responsibility feel like a cage? Why does commitment feel like death? And so he chooses to stay in Neverland, the world of infinite potential, without the pressure to perform. A world of love without the weight of commitment. A world of dreams without the burden of discipline. But even in this self-made paradise, a dull ache begins to grow, because potential left unrealized for too long doesn't just fade away, it turns sour. What once felt exciting and full of promise slowly becomes a source of deep, gnawing Shama constant, painful reminder of everything he could have been, of the man he never became. Eventually, every man living this pattern arrives at a crossroads. There are only two paths forward. One path is denial. He can blame the world, blame his partners, blame his bad luck. He can chase new shinier distractions and double down on his fantasies, building his walls even higher. The other path is surrender. To finally stop running, to turn around, and to ask the terrifying question, what am I so afraid of? This is where true healing begins. It doesn't start with productivity hacks or a sudden decision to get serious. It starts with grief, grieving the innocence that was stolen from him too soon, or the innocence he was never allowed to let go of. Grieving the comfort that never came when he needed it most. Grieving all the beautiful dreams he abandoned, not because they weren't good, but because he was too afraid to build them. Healing means learning to finally meet that inner boy, the one who still trembles at the thought of failure, the one who still looks in the mirror and wonders if he will ever be enough. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The eternal boy is living proof of this. He lives out this repeating fate until he finally summons the courage to turn inward and face the director of the show, himself. This profound transformation isn't about killing the boy inside. It's about fathering him. The man must learn to build a sense of safety within himself, a safety he never had. He must do this through the steady, patient work of discipline, self-compassion, and the radical act of learning to stay with discomfort, to stay with a project, to stay with a person. Because the man he is truly meant to be cannot be born until he grounds the boy's spectacular dreams in the firm, rich soil of responsibility. When that finally happens, something profound shifts. He doesn't lose his spark, he hifnes it. His scattered passion becomes focused purpose. His boundless creativity becomes tangible creation. His fleeting, fiery love transforms into a steady, warming fire that can actually sustain another person. True maturity isn't about becoming dull or boring, it's about gaining depth. It's the depth that allows joy to take root and purpose to finally grow. So, to the men watching this who see a reflection of themselves in this story, you dainty need to kill your dreams. You don't need to hide your sensitivity or your vibrant inner world. You only need to stop running from your own soul. Adulthood is not the death of magic. It's the place where magic finally learns how to build something real, something that lasts. And to those who love a man like this, please understand, he is not trying to hurt you. He is trying to survive something he doesn't even have the words for yet. You cannot rescue him, you cannot fix him, but you can choose yourself. Sometimes, the most loving and powerful thing you can do is to step back and let him face his own reflection alone. Because one day, if he is brave enough, he will stop escaping and begin integrating. He will learn to turn the boy's wide-eyed wonder into a man's hard-earned wisdom. And that is the day he finally becomes whole. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the mind. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the human experience. Teikikeri.